Welcome to the Longbox Paradox, episode 37, and this week I'm going to be doing 2 DC titles and 1 Marvel title. I'm going to warn everybody ahead of time. I have a little bit of a rant about to happen. You can kind of guess by what came out is what's going to trigger it, and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start with DC Comics and Batman number 77, written by the Titanic writer Tom King, with art by Mikel Janin and a very inconsistent Tony Daniel. Well, we start out with Damian has snuck into Gotham, and he's met by Gotham Girl, queen of the bad dialogue, and whatever the hell Tom King thinks a young lady should talk. So he's not talking, she's threatening him, getting pissed off, starts chasing him down, and Damian pulls a wand out, says some words backwards. It's the Wand of Clarion, and he chains her, taunts her a little bit, says how he, summoned a demon, blah, blah, blah. And we cut over to Bruce. For those of us who've been reading Batman for a while, it is not a strange thing for Batman to be unconscious while Catwoman is awake and doing stuff. It feels like it's something that's happened in this run a lot. She is cooking and singing, and he finally wakes up from his mini coma, jump back to Gotham, and we have Officer Zsasz and Scarecrow, and they are enforcing ordinances. This guy walking his dog, they're going to try and shoot. And Damian goes down and starts beating the crap out of them. Then we jump cut once again to Bruce just sitting there on the couch, pretty sullen, and Catwoman just staring at him, and him just going, "I lost." Yes, I did a little Stallone on that. He doesn't deserve it, but... jump cut again, back to Gotham. And we have Thomas Wayne, Flashpoint Batman. Basically, him and Damian are having a back and forth. Damian's calling him fake Batman. You let your wife become Joker. You let your universe get exploded. And Damian punches him. And he basically says, you do this, it's gonna be trouble. Then we jump cut to what feels like a homage to Dark Knight Rises, where Selina and Bruce are sitting in a cafe, and we're just gonna fucking steal right from Frank Miller with the "it will be a good death" line. Fuck you for stealing that. Seriously, you don't deserve to even touch the words of Frank Miller. Fuck you. So, back again to Damian and Flashpoint Batman, Thomas Wayne. More fighting, more punching, more threatening. Then, back to the inconsistent artwork of Tony Daniel, with Selina and Batman just walking around, and her calling him, "Stupid beautiful man, you still can't see me." Woo! Dialogue. Then we jump cut back to Gotham. Damian's tied up. He's a little rough there. And we're hearing some dialogue. "Master, please, no, no." And Damian screams no. And Bane snaps Alfred's neck with a nice little crack. And basically, Flashpoint Batman's like, well, now they're going to come because now we have the best hostage, you. Perhaps it's good. Perhaps now they'll listen. Perhaps they won't be as childish as you were. And then we have Batman and Catwoman in costume and some equally horrific dialogue. "You want to take back our city, Bat? You want revenge for what they've done? Let me show you the way." Yeah. So, just going to go with my half-baked theory. This is all a simulation, a dream. Maybe Batman is in Sanctuary and tied 2 shitty stories together. This is basically Tom King's therapy session for whatever the fuck he's going through, and this continues to answer nothing. There are loose ends in past issues that they tied nothing up on. Literally, all I hear when I read this is the talking heads, I'm on the road to nowhere. And that is what this story is. It is a road to nowhere. There are now 8 issues left. Just fucking put this dog out of its misery. Just put it down. Just, come on, old Yeller. Let's go out in the back. Let's have one last play. Just put this bitch out of its misery. I can't with this anymore, and I'm doing it to myself. I keep going back because I'm morbidly curious if it's gonna turn. Is there gonna be a moment where it all makes sense? It doesn't. It's bullshit. You ruined Josh Williamson's great writing in the button. This is just gonna be one of the longest, most meaningless runs on Batman. Doesn't matter that you got 85 issues or 79 if 79 out of them are bullshit. I wish they'd kept an editor on this book. Good God, like, there can't be an editor. No editor would let this shit pass. They just cannot. Or there's a figurehead editor that's just, like, assembling talent together. This just is not good. Boy, 4.5, 5, like, literally, this is bullshit, and I know nothing's gonna come of this, because that's typical Tom King writing. There's this heightening to fucking nothing. Nothing. Just like the goddamn wedding, just like Sanctuary, you just gotta stick your dick in everything and hope it works out. And this is not. Wow. Well, as you can tell, a little over the top on that, maybe. And I will blame my friend Jeff for getting me worked up on this, because he read it first thing this morning and had to start messaging me. And yeah, so that rant is over. Let's move on to something a little bit better. And by better, Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. Superman Year 1, Issue 2. I'm going to just lay it out from the top. I was a little bit iffy about them having, at the end of Issue 1, Superman, Clark Kent, join the armed services. He joined the Navy. And not the village people kind of Navy, became a SEAL in this. So, right from the start, we have him going through MEPS, going into boot camp. They show pictures of him, like, getting his hair cut, the person saying, hey, I just broke 3 blades on this razor. And, you know, he's in boot camp, and he starts forgetting himself that he's, you know, got all these powers, and he starts embracing it. You know, goes through all the basic training with the other guys, and he keeps remarking, you know, these guys are working hard, they're tough, you know, this is just easy. And then he talks about how the sea, the earth, it's calling to him, it's begging for him. And as they're running the beach, out of the corner of his eye, he sees something, and he's punished for it. He talks to his commanding officer, and they talk about how there's mermaids. Clark kind of gets into trouble a lot. You know, they're in the gas lamp quarter, as, you know, you do when you're in the Navy. Imagine it was Coronado, probably. And bar fight breaks out over a girl. He's punished scrubbing the latrines. And he just, whatever is in the water, it keeps calling him, so he dives in the sea and then realizes, you know what, I don't need to breathe, I can just swim. And he sees the mermaids. And for the old-time Superman fans, especially for the Walt Weisinger era, we have Laurie the mermaid, and it's got that John Romita look to it. You'll understand if you've read a lot of his old stuff. The mermaids in particular have that Romita look. He helps the mermaids rebuild parts of Atlantis. Laurie kind of falls in love with him, and him to her. And we go back to more of his training, and they're doing sparring. And there's a certain part here where he realizes that killing's easy. And we get that little bit of a turn with Clark where, he was just completely embraced falling into the mentality. And that night he goes back and, sleep kind of, and they wake them all up. They're going to go after a kidnapped boat. And they see the terrorists. And one of the terrorists pulls out a grenade. Clark grabs it and stops it from blowing up. And, says it's a dud. He disobeyed orders, so he gets an honorable discharge. And the commanding officer basically said, I know you have talents. Hone those talents. Learn those skills, and don't go setting the world on fire. It's already on fire. It's your job to put the fires out. You got that, boy. And Clark leaves, and then he starts walking into the water and goes back in to see Lori. Lori, expresses her love, wants him to visit her father and get his approval. Clark puts on the Superman costume for the first time, visits, fights this giant sentry outside of Atlantis. Basically, Poseidon's a dick. He basically is like, Lori's mine, not yours. Sets the, tests. So he has, all the male Atlanteans, mess with Clark, try to take him down. Of course, he's so damn powerful. Poseidon's fury starts raging, and he calls for the Kraken. Clark fights the Kraken, gets devoured by the Kraken. It comes back. Lori's completely upset. Poseidon once again goes after him, and Clark still overcomes. And him and Lori are together, and it basically is like him thinking, it's all perfect, she's perfect, I could stay here, I could spend a lifetime here, I could stay here and never leave, not for my whole life. And, of course, that's setting up for, of course, the world needs him, I'm pretty sure. But it's hard to say since Frank Miller's writing can kind of divert. It was really interesting to see them use this as his world turn where, he wants to see the world, he joins the Navy and wants to do good. Only to start getting trained as a killer. And basically with his skill set, in it they show him, perfect sniper, perfect fighter. And at times he leans into his natural skills and forgets his power. This was a really interesting take. I thought this was pretty fantastically done. And it kind of reminds you that Frank still has a little bit of magic in him still. I'm going to go 7.5 on this out of 10. I liked it. Again, Romita's art for me, Junior, it's always going to be a little hit and miss. This series in particular, though, it's been a little restrained, and I've enjoyed it. This is a buy for me. It is. Issue 1 was a buy also. I know some people were upset because of the changes made. It didn't really hit me that much because I knew this is, reimagining. So this was a score. I enjoyed it. The Romita Jr. cover I liked a little bit more. Well, no, a lot more than the Miller cover. The Miller cover just didn't do it for me. It didn't do it for me at all. And I feel like I've been reviewing one of these books every week, and I might have been. From Marvel Comics, we have Powers of X #3. Silva and Hickman. Again, we have House of X #3 next week. Start out the year 100, or the X-Men year 100, and the more of the robot or cyborg minions of Nimrod. They're doing these weird christenings to babies where they're burning half of the face. And we then have Zorn, Magneto, Rasputin, and Cardinal show up to start it. Zorn, from the Morrison run, was peaceful. This Zorn is a whole other entity that is not about peace at all. Rasputin, I still want to learn more about, and we get a little dialogue or diagram from Hickman explaining surviving Soul Mutants, Apocalypse, War, who's Wolverine, Death, Zorn, Pestilence, North, which is a Chimera 2nd gen, and then we have Famine, it's Cypher and Krakoa symbiotic, and then we have what's left of the 3rd gen Chimera, Rasputin, Cardinal, and then the mother, Akaba, mutant pureblood. Nimrod and his acolyte are having a dialogue, and Nimrod is in this completely, not a sociopath, but he just loves hearing himself talk. He's always kind of right. And his acolyte's like, I'm going to go investigate. And, she's like, all right, suit yourself. And he's like, I always do. There's a big battle. The acolyte shows up. I forget the name of the acolyte. My bad. Shows up with a ton of sentinels. And while that's going on, Apocalypse and some of his horsemen show up to an old part of where Nimrod came online. And Nimrod's alerted, and he comes and has this gigantic, energy attack that fries Wolverine. Rasputin unleashes Zorn's black hole, he is a black hole, and takes the acolyte into it, and Rasputin's like, well, I guess we're going to feel what it's like to be in a black hole. And then Nimrod and Apocalypse fight. Apocalypse is getting taunted. Nimrod's like, Apocalypse, the mutant immortal, older than the world, the fittest of all. How sad this must be to know the natural selection has brought you here. And now that's happening, Wolverine wakes up Moira, and he knew, basically, it's like Apocalypse knew we might be on a clock, so he created some kind of way to force feed the information you need into your mind. And while that happens, she's like, what now? And it's like, if we succeed, the old man said to send you on your way because there's nothing left to save here. And Wolverine apologizes, and she's saying, it's okay. I have what I need now. And this is what you do. And with that, he ends the 9th life of Moira. And that is the end of the issue. It's jam-packed. There's a lot going on in it. This probably, I feel, was one of the better issues of Powers of X, because it did not time jump a lot more. A lot like it has been. Felt like there was no time jump. The way Moira now is the constant in all these timelines, also, I really love. And again, if you haven't read House of X2, none of this will make sense. House of X2 is the keystone of this entire run. And you have to pay attention to every damn word in that book. This is an 8 out of 10. Solid read. Silva's art is growing on me a little bit, but it's weird because, you go from this then to House of X, and Pepe Larraz's art is dynamic, incredibly dynamic. So it's a weird juxtaposition going from book to book, especially the way this one has time jumped, 3 to 4 different time periods. Really digging this. This was probably the strongest Powers of X book that we've had so far. And my enjoyment level of the series and Hickman's run so far has been high. Again, I was at the point of not giving a shit about X-Men, back to now going, okay, I'm excited about this like I haven't been since Morrison's run. And it needed that jolt. It needed someone to bring some new energy to it. There was a story saying that basically this story might have been the same one he pitched for Legion of Superheroes over at DC. Don't know. Still, that might have made me start reading Legion of Superheroes, and now we got Bendis doing it. Just really excited. I hope I didn't turn anybody off by my bitching about Batman number 77. But yeah, it's just not good, and I still have not had anybody who actually still reads Batman actually give me a reason why they like it, and that troubles me. That troubles me a lot. So yeah, with that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't watched mine and my co-host Gambit's Inked Panels graphic novel book club, we're 3 episodes deep in. We've only done image titles so far. We did Die, Magic Order, and we just did Low by Remender, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. Check it out if you haven't. They're rather long. They're 45 minutes to an hour each. But we kind of really dive in, and we also start talking about, in the second half of the episodes, what we're reading, what we're digging. We've talked about art a little bit too much. So I'd also like to thank someone who's been a big supporter of me doing this, and also a big supporter of my personal life. So thank you very much. I appreciate you dearly. And like, comment, share, subscribe. Definitely comment if you don't agree with me. I have no problem. I don't mind a dialogue. Just be a little bit respectful, and I'll be respectful. Of course, nobody reads and sees things the same, so I don't expect anybody to ever fully agree. And if you like Tom King's Batman, I'd love to hear what it is that makes you gravitate to it, because I have a whole group of friends that were diehard Batman fans that just, we all had to leave the book. Just some of us hate read it or have issues where we're so OCD that we don't want gaps in our run. Looking at you, Jeff. So we'll see you this Sunday for the preview for what's coming out next week. Also, my Andy Muschietti It Chapter 1 review will be coming up. And hopefully I might be able to get some more comic-related stuff out. I keep kicking around doing some live streams. I just want to try and gather some people up before I jump into it. Also trying to get my buddy Carl, who worked for Image Comics for a while, under Rob Liefeld, to come on and do a live stream with me, because he's got some great industry war stories. I keep doing this. Thank you. Happy hunting this Wednesday. I will say, if you're getting Powers of X, the secret variant is the one to go after. It jumped up to $25 pretty quick yesterday. Not sure what it jumped up to now, but keep your eyes out for it. Very subtle differences between the covers, so it's kind of hard to spot. Take care, guys. Bye.